There are more than 1.1 billion websites on the internet right now. That means one website for every 8 people in the world. That's a lot of websites, and it's crazy to think that Google is just going to know about all of them and happily read about them and put them all in its index, which is like its big library, and start showing them all on its platform. If you want your website to show up on Google, you need to take very specific action to ensure that it happens. You can't just wait for Google to maybe find out about your website at some point in the future. We need to make this happen today. If you're struggling to get your website to show up on Google, then keep watching, because today we're going to go through exactly how you can tell Google about your website, make sure that it crawls and indexes your website, and how to check up on it if it's still not getting the job done. Plus, we'll go over the problem that maybe it's just one specific page of your website that isn't showing up on Google. I'll show you how to check that and make sure that Google is crawling and indexing that properly as well for you. Let's go. So the first thing we want to do is check on Google whether your site or a particular web page of your site is actually being indexed and shown on Google. Now, there's a really easy way to do this. Some people will just try searching for their website, and that's not always the best because there might be people that rank above you, and it might just be a bit difficult to find in certain circumstances. So we can use a little trick instead. We can use something called a search operator, and that's simply popping in the word site and a colon. And then after that, you just need to put in your website address. So I've got a test site here, and I'm just going to put in the address of that website and hit enter. And what Google's going to do, it's going to show you all the pages on that website that are in its index, in its big library of web pages, basically. So we can see this page is actually on Google. That's what it should look like. And you can go through and check individual pages like this as well. Now, let's say we pick a URL or a website that isn't indexed on Google. Either it doesn't exist or Google doesn't know about it, which if you have a live website and you're getting results like this saying you don't match any documents or domains, then we need to do something about it. And that's what we're going to go through next. So if your website isn't showing up on Google or your web page isn't showing up in Google's index, we need to go to another tool called Google Search Console, which we can set up and use that to make sure Google finds and indexes your website. So that URL is simply search.google.com/search console, or you can just Google the word search console and it's going to come up with that tool. That's going to bring you to Google Search Console website, and it's going to bring you to an onboarding flow. If you already have an account, it's going to allow you to add other websites. Otherwise, it's going to get you to sign up with your Google account and ask you how you want to add your website to Google Search Console. There's 2 ways that will offer you to do this. You can do this with the domain, which requires DNS verification, which is slightly technical. There is also an easy way, the URL prefix. This is literally, we're going to put our homepage exact URL into here, and that's going to go and help us investigate and add our website to Google, basically. So if we pop our exact home address in here, you want to make sure you've got the https:// in there, and then you want to make sure that your URL is exactly how it shows on your website. If it's got the www dot in front of it, make sure to put that in. If it doesn't, make sure to leave that out. So this test website doesn't have a www dot, so we're just using that exact URL prefix to add our website, basically. It's going to go through and verify, and if it doesn't verify automatically through your Google Analytics settings or your domain name, it's going to give you a really easy walkthrough of how to go and add potentially that code to your website or how to verify it through your host, basically. So once that's done, it's going to bring up your property. Now, I've previously installed this for this website, so it's actually going to show me some search data. So after a few weeks of installing Google Search Console with your website, it's going to start showing you how many clicks and any issues like this website's been having that you've got with Google that might be killing your traffic. Now, the next stage, once you've got it set up, we also need to go and basically give Google the map of our website to tell it about all the pages. And we can go on this left-hand side, go to sitemaps. Now, sitemaps, you can see in here, I've got these submitted already, but essentially you need to find your sitemap. And I'll show you an example. For most WordPress websites, if you type in your website name /sitemap.xml, it's going to go and bring up your sitemap, and it might have a slightly different name on there that it will forward to if you're using a Rank Math or Yoast plugin or something like that. Now, we can take this URL or take the end of this URL /sitemap.xml and take that back into Google Search Console where it's saying add a new sitemap. Then we pop that in there, hit submit. That's going to go and check it. And as you see, Google will periodically process and look for changes. You'll be notified if anything goes wrong with it in the future. But that's submitted. And what that does is it literally submits a list of all your pages to Google. You can see here, discovered pages 298, last read, success. So Google now knows about all our pages. Every time we publish a new page on our website, it's going to usually, or your CMS should automatically update your sitemap, and Google's going to periodically read that and find out about new pages automatically. Now, there is an even quicker way to give Google a nudge to find out more about your website, or if you publish new pages, you can go to this inspectanyurl.com, inspect any URL bar at the top. And particularly with a new website, you might want to give it a nudge to index you quicker. So you can type in your website address here, hit enter, and it's going to go and retrieve data from the Google index. And this is going to tell you directly whether this specific page is on Google. It's going to tell you whether it's last crawled and give you all the information about it. Now, if you were to put a URL in there or a web page in there, hit enter, and it retrieved data from the Google index, and it says URL is not on Google, this means you will never show up on Google search results. You are not in the index. You are not in the library. And you can see actually here, it's going to give us more information about why this page isn't on Google. Page is not indexed. It's crawled, currently not indexed. That means Google knows about the page, but it's decided not to index it for some reason. We need to check that page to make sure there's no errors or no problems. It doesn't look like there is. So then there is obviously a reason it hasn't decided to index it for now. It hasn't crawled it for just under a month. So you can actually use this request indexing button here. Now, there are other status errors that come up. You could also get this saying page is not indexed, discovered, currently not indexed, which means Google knows about it, but it hasn't even crawled the page. So we need to request it to make sure it crawls it. Or it might even just URL is not as Google, page is not indexed, URL is unknown to Google. This might be really prevalent with new websites. So if you're getting this message, that means you need to tell Google about this page because it doesn't even know about this page yet. So you can go and press the request indexing button, make sure your sitemap's added as well. So this is a great tool, even if you know the rest of your website's not indexed, but you just want to check on one particular page, see if it's showing or not. You can go in there and request indexing. And then after a few weeks, you're going to start to get more and more information from this tool. You're going to even go into the settings here. You can see crawl stats, which is a nice one to show you, like, is Google actually crawling my website? As you can see here, it was doing plenty of crawling, and then there's an outage where I think I actually removed Google Search Console. But if there's nothing in here, you know that Google had a problem, or you can say there was a problem with this website last week. We need to go and check more and fix those problems, basically. That could be a number of things. In Google Search Console as well, you're going to get this nice performance chart where you can start to see the keywords that are being shown for your website. You can start to see some of the pages that are generating clicks and really get into the nuts and bolts of all the data. But that is how you get your website to show up on Google. Check it with a site operator, site colon. If not, you need to make sure you install Google Search Console, submit your sitemap, and then inspect your URLs that are of the most importance.